up, everybody? And welcome back to episode 26 of the Sean Lowery Show. And we're doing something fun today. I'm here with my man, Brandon. He's going to be working with me, doing videos, helping with a podcast, all that stuff I can't do. He's my man. And today, we're going to go in together and discuss a topic that is near and dear to my heart, but something that can be debated both ways. And it's, are people born entrepreneurs, or is it a trait that they can learn?
I don't think you...
Oh, there he is. What's up, Brandon? How's it going?
I don't think you can change your mindset to be an entrepreneur. I feel like you have to be born that way.
Okay.
Why do you think you can change it? What made your mindset change?
Okay. Well, I think it's a learned trait. It's something that people can pick up. Now, I think there might be some natural like proclivity. Like, obviously, if you're really tall, you might be more likely to be an NBA player. If you're short, no chance. So there's certain things that I think might lean people towards it. But there's many famous stories of people who started businesses later in life. I think the McDonald's guy and the KFC guy, they didn't start their business until they were about 50 years old. So I think there's a lot of proof that it's something that people can do later in life. But you think it's just something that you're born with? Yeah,
you have to be like a natural born leader.
What do you think are the skills that are most important to be born with that make you an entrepreneur?
You gotta be almost like an alpha dog. You gotta be very passionate, be very driven, very competitive. Anything you do, you want to be the best at, and you gotta know how to like overcome like any obstacle in life. And that's something that you can't really be taught. You kind of have to like have it ingrained in you.
Yeah, there's definitely a piece of that needs to be ingrained in you.
Yeah, like some people they give up. They're not survivors.
Yeah.
So I don't think any entrepreneur that has ever been successful they were survivors, basically.
I think one of the most important traits that it takes to be an entrepreneur is to be disagreeable. And like, that's in a term of like, you know, you might be a little punk kid, like your parents tell you what to do and you don't want to do it. But basically, you know, in our society, we have great education in America. What is this public school system? It's a system that trains you to be an employee. It's like something where we're put into a system and we're kind of told, hey, go get a job, get a house, white picket fence. So to be an entrepreneur, you kind of have to break out of like what is being told to you. Like everyone's going to tell you, don't do anything that makes the teacher mad. Don't do anything different. Just go along, get a job, be safe, great safety for your family, have kids. And none of the advice that's given to like the standard education student in America is entrepreneurial advice. So you have to break away from the grain at some point. So just being disagreeable, I think, is an important trait.
Do you feel like the top person in the class, or do you think they have the traits to be an entrepreneur?
No, I think they're a giant nerd.
Okay, yeah. Like that's what I was trying to think.
I truly think that.
You think it's the person in the back of class, like
I mean, there's maybe somewhere in the middle, and you know, there's definitely Mark Zuckerberg was a giant Harvard nerd, and he's obviously a successful entrepreneur.
But that's a skill set that like he was born with. He was born to be smart.
I mean, his skills are more tech based and opportunity driven rather than his pure entrepreneurial ability. Like somebody like Mark Cuban just went to Indiana and just went to a state school, but he had that entrepreneur genes. He always talks about how he sold clothes hangers door to door as a kid. And Gary Vee talks about as a kid, he used to rip flowers out and sell them back to people's doors. Yeah. And that's the one thing that I'm fascinated by.
He used to do what?
He used to rip people's flowers out and then go to their door and sell them back to them.
Okay. Yeah, I used to buy bubble gum. My mom used to buy me bubble gum, and I used to sell it back to kids in like third and second grade.
Okay, so you think you're entrepreneurial as a kid?
Well, it's the only thing I did entrepreneurial was like I just doubled the amount of money that I had to spend on.
But I do find it interesting.
They called me the bubblegum hustler.
They called you the bubblegum hustler?
Yeah.
Did you make a few bucks?
Yeah. I had good snack money. I could buy all the snacks I wanted. So, yeah.
But I think I think that's interesting. I think it's really interesting when people like that, Gary Vee, Mark Cuban, others, there's many more that come to mind, but they say they're entrepreneurs as kids. So I definitely consider myself an entrepreneur. Like ever since I've been an adult, I haven't got a paycheck from anyone else. I can't breathe without running my own business. So I consider myself an entrepreneur. But when I look at people like that, I'm like, wow, I really wasn't an entrepreneur when I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, I was just a regular kid. I liked to play games. Like the one thing I did do, I remember when I was in 7th grade, I ran the big school like March Madness tournament, and I collected like $5 from everyone, and I like. Everyone,
but you led that tournament. You were the organizer. I
was the organizer, but honestly, I didn't even make any money. So that is like not a good example because I wasn't buying and selling something for profit.
What kind of video games were y'all playing as kids? Like 6, 7?
I was playing sports games.
Okay, so who was the best at it?
Me.
See?
I don't know if that's true or not.
It's because, like, did you, like, train to be the best?
I mean, with Madden and, like, NBA Live at the time, with all my friends, like, honestly, we were probably all equal. And we trained, like, by playing together. But no, I was never, like, obsessed over video games. I obviously wanted to be the best at them. I mean, I was more into real sports. I was a good athlete as a kid.
That's genetic.
Athleticism is definitely genetic.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt about that. I mean, the people...
Do you feel like being successful is genetic then?
No.
Okay.
There's definitely a difference between the correlation between athleticism and success in professional sports than there is in whatever traits and being successful. Because first of all, successful is a tough trait to define.
Yeah.
If you want to define business success, then you can talk about how big of a company you have or how big, how much money you've made. I mean, a lot of people define happiness as in different ways, you know. Not having a lot of money, but having enough to take care of yourself and your family, that is considered success for a lot of people. I mean,
I've noticed a lot in my life, people are like content. Like I never understood that in life. Like they feel fine doing what they do, and they never have like big dreams.
Yeah. So like honestly, good for those people. I'm not like that, and that is not a trait that entrepreneurs have. That is, I think.
But you feel like, is that genetic? That some people are just like content? Almost ignorance is bliss. Like they could just be who they are.
I think it's partly genetic. I think it's partly comes from family because I think that one of the number one, people love approval and people don't like to get disapproval. It's very uncomfortable to go out and get people to disapprove of you and still have to believe in yourself against that. And the number one source of approval that people need, naturally, this is biological, is their family, their mom and their dad.
Yeah.
If their mom and their dad support what they're doing, then they're...
Daddy issues.
If mom and dad support you, though, you're comfortable and you're happy. And if you have parents who are happy and successful, and then they just teach you to do nothing outside the box and just be happy and successful. Don't break anything. Then you do that and they approve of you and you're happy and successful. I think that's very common.
Do you feel like the genetic and environmental, do you feel like they're similar?
No. I mean, nature versus nurture is one of the most ultimate debates in life. And that is kind of similar to this conversation. Are you born an entrepreneur or are you not? I mean, nature versus nurture is the ultimate debate, and I think about that all the time. And my mom always says, when I was born, I was like a happy, smiley kid, and I was always positive. And she says that my brother was more of like a whiner. And like, as we got older, like, I'm like a very positive person. And like, she says that...
Has your brother started a business?
No, my brother's doing great. He's doing great in life, but no, he's not as entrepreneurial as I am.
Okay.
But my mom says, from her parenting perspective, that she didn't raise us any differently, but she said from the day I was born, I was more like positive and happy, and he wasn't. And she said that it wasn't nurture, it was nature that did that. So she says after her parenting experience, she believes more in nature than she does in nurture. Now, that was just her parenting. There's also other environments. Like I had to move twice as a kid. And it was a huge deal in my life. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but when I was in sixth grade, I had to move away from all my friends. I moved to a different state, and then I made new friends when I was in Chicago for 3 years, and I had to move again. And it was devastating each time I had to move because I had to move for my friends. But then each time I moved to a new place, it was very hard because I had to meet new people. Now, those were at prime times of my developmental life. It was 7th grade, the first day of school, and 10th grade, the first day of school. And I was the new kid in completely new states where nobody knew where I was. And those are...
Were you popular in 7th grade?
I was popular when I moved. I was sad moving because I was popular and had a lot of friends. And then when I had no friends and I was not popular when I was new. But then I eventually, both times, ended up making a lot of friends. And it sounds dumb, but those situations that I were put in at those such monumental moments in my life, at those points in my life, I thought that this was all that mattered in the world. I cannot believe I was in New York, I was in Syracuse, and then I was in Chicago. I knew absolutely zero people. It was the first day of school. And on the first day of school, nobody knew that I was the new kid, because it's not like I came into the middle of school. I just thought I was like there and they just never knew me. But putting myself in those situations, well, I didn't put myself in those situations, but being in those situations taught me so much like resilience and like ability to have to adapt. I think that those like traits, they gave me confidence in knowing that I can recreate myself, and they gave me the situational experience to have to learn how to adapt to new settings in order to make friends. And I succeeded in both those situations that were so devastating, and I had to deal with being disappointed and overcoming that, and then being like so sad.
Did you start any businesses in Chicago?
As
a kid.
So I didn't start any businesses as a kid.
Lemonade stand, anything like that?
I mean, I had a few lemonade stands, but like
paper route.
No, I didn't work. I was all about playing with my friends, playing sports. I know what entrepreneurial means, and I wasn't.
Yeah, we defined it earlier. How do you define?
I think an entrepreneur is someone who has their own business. I mean, from the logical perspective, you run your own company. But
do you feel like everyone should be an entrepreneur?
No, absolutely not.
You feel like the world would be better when everyone has a local small business?
First of all, if everyone was an entrepreneur, no one would have any employees.
Yeah, that's true.
It wouldn't make any sense. But no, if there's one thing I know for sure, everyone should not be an entrepreneur. But just to get back to the thing real quick, I wasn't entrepreneurial as a kid, but I did about nature versus nurture. I did have tough situations that I had to overcome and adapt to. And if I would have just, like my fiance Shelby, she was born in her house, and by the time she graduated high school, she was in the same house with the same parents, with the same friends. That's 0 to 18. From my 0 to 18, I had all these crazy situations, and I think that did help shape me to be somebody who could like deal with tough situations, and that is entrepreneurial.
Do you feel like it's the crazier the better?
I think maybe that's where the nature comes in. Maybe I was somebody who was born with the ability to do this stuff, and then as I had to face situations, I did overcome them and did succeed in these tough situations, and that just proved to myself that I could be an entrepreneur or be somebody who deals with harder things. And then when it was time to go out into life, I wanted to start a company.
So are you saying like the less amount of changes in your life, the less likely you're going to change your mindset?
I'm saying...
Because you're talking about...
I'm saying that tragedy as a kid could crush somebody. It could. If the same person with different nature was put into my situation from 0 to 18, it could have devastated them, and they maybe would have curled up into a ball and then chosen a life where they never wanted to deal with those situations again.
But
that's where nature comes in.
You're heading to my point where like it could crush them, but an entrepreneur, they should be able to overcome it because it's a failure. Okay. And you're never going to be able to like be successful at your first business.
That actually is.
So is that genetically you're able to overcome failures?
That actually is towards your point, because I said it doesn't matter that way. So, right, different situations can shape people differently. Some people might have a situation as a kid that's tough and they might overcome it, and that might give them confidence that they can overcome anything. Other people might have a situation as a kid where they're crushed and then they never want to feel that feeling again, so they choose safety the rest of their life. And I guess in that case, it does depend on nurture. So in that case, it does depend on nature, like how you're born. And so I'll give you that case a little bit. There's definitely a genetic component. But there also, I was actually just like reading up a little bit about entrepreneurship. You think about it, a lot of people you might think start it when they're young. You think about the famous stories.
Yeah, everyone talking about their backstory.
Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg dropping out of college to start their big companies. I think statistically, the most successful entrepreneurs are people who are about like 35, 40, and they're successful because they make a practical decision that they're old enough and wise enough in their own industry to just be like, oh, okay, I've been running my company for I've been working for this company for like 20 years. I know how it works. They're running it like idiots. I see a very clear, simple, logical strategy to start my own company. I can pull away some of my clients. I know the industry. I know the business. And it's just more of a practical approach. And actually, on average, those entrepreneurs are more successful because they're older, they're wiser, they know themselves, they know their industry, and they know what they want to do. And that might be a more practical, logical approach. But those people are still taking a risk as an entrepreneur. But I guess it's not as big of a risk as like something like I did when I was 20, 22, 21. I just quit my job and I had no idea what I was going to do. And I was like, I need to be an entrepreneur. I had that like gut vibe. And I don't know what it's like not to be.
Well, okay, another question. Do you feel like taking a risk is genetic?
Taking a risk is genetic.
Like, not a lot of people are going to want to jump off the airplane.
You know what? It might be genetic. It might be genetic a little bit. I think that if you are...
And do you feel like there's a top, like, 5 trait you need to be successful as an entrepreneur?
Oh, definitely. It's definitely one of the top 5 traits.
Being able to take a risk.
Disagreeable is an important trait. Being able to take a risk. Being able to face judgment. Being able to deal with tough situations. Being able to be happy losing. Those are 5 traits that are very important for an entrepreneur that the average person doesn't like. But as far as the genetics and are you born that way? Like, I think there's certain people who there's definitely a proclivity towards it. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you can definitely learn certain things and certain skills to make you one. But just wanting to be an entrepreneur,
I got this
maybe genetic.
I got this crazy like idea I just thought of. You know how like people are like religious people are like they don't want to be able to clone people or to edit DNA.
Yes.
So what if in the future like moms and dads want like the DNA to be like, you know, changed to be an entrepreneur? Like what would be the top 5 things I guess you want your son or daughter to have as a genetic trait?
Okay, so we're not talking about the morality of doing that because that's a different topic, which is very interesting. It's very interesting. But I mean, I just kind of listed some of them. I think being disagreeable, and I mean that in the fact is like so many people and most people are just like.
So if your daughter's like disagreeing with you, you'll be like, good daughter, you're gonna be a good.
In a way, yes. And like that's the thing, if you're disagreeable as a kid, your parents or your teachers, that people try to beat it. People try to beat it out of you. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't stand on the coffee table. Don't go in the medicine cabinet. Don't do this. No. Like as a kid, you're naturally. The disagreeability is beat out of you. Like society does that. And like the people, so yeah, being disagreeable and is the number 1 trait to be an entrepreneur. And I do mean it in a positive way. Like I do mean it like thinking for yourself and not letting other people tell you what to do to make you happy.
Okay. So what if, your daughter didn't have these traits? What would you do when she turns 18, graduates high school? What would you do to help her change her mindset?
I'm not going to force her to be an entrepreneur.
Okay, gotcha. All right, yeah.
Like I think that you can absolutely learn to be an entrepreneur if you want to. But I don't think that
everyone's going to be successful.
I don't think that everyone's going to be successful at it, and I don't think everyone should do it. My cousin Kevin, one of my best friends, he's one of my groomsmen. He wanted to start a CBD company when CBD was really popular.
Yeah, that was.
And he made this and he got all into it, and he made this really cool packaging, and he sourced the product, and I saw it, and I was like, dude, I'm very, very impressed by what you've done. And I started talking to him and getting him all hype about it. I'm like, dude, I know how to sell products. I can get you on Facebook ads.
Just make an e-commerce
I was like, make an e-commerce site, get Facebook ads, start marketing. And I saw, like, he made the product, and I was like, dude, I'm your guy. I know how to sell products. And I started talking to him, and I turned him on to all these podcasts about entrepreneurship. And, like, he was like, okay. And then, like, eventually...
He fell off?
Eventually, he talked to me. He's like, yeah, like... He's like, I just don't know, like...
He didn't have enough income.
He's like, I don't know about... Well...
To support it.
It wasn't necessarily that. Yes, he hit the roadblocks that every entrepreneur hit. It's harder than you think. You don't have any money. You don't have a marketing budget. You don't know what the hell you're doing. Like, he ran into all those things that any entrepreneur does. And he put himself in that situation, which is good. But he hit that situation, and he kind of decided that... He's like, you know what? I don't want to do this shit. He's like, I don't want to, and he actually came to visit me, and he was kind of like, oh, Sean, like, I know how Sean's going to go about this. Sean's going to be like, boom, Facebook ads, all this stuff. And he said to me, he's like, you know what? Like, I just don't think I want to live that life. And I was, cause it's a life. Like he likes to, dude, he's the man. He maybe end up being more successful than me. He just kind of went down that path and he tasted it. And he said, this isn't for me. And at least he was smart enough to notice that. And I think at least he did that. So now, if he's ever in his 9-to-5 job and he's not satisfied, he can at least say he gave it a try.
What you say his name was
and he
again?
tasted it. My cousin Kevin.
What was he doing in high school, middle school? You know?
I don't know. I mean, he was similar to me in high school. He wasn't doing anything super entrepreneurial. But I remember there was some point.
Was he athletic?
He played sports. Yeah, he played lacrosse and football. He's the man. But I remember there was some points where he was like selling stuff on like Craigslist, like finding a tire and selling it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's awesome,
that.
Kevin. Because every time,
flip trash.
Every time anyone I know does something entrepreneurial, like one of my younger cousins, I'm always attracted to that, and I'm always like, hey, what's up?
You're
like,
beating the system.
I just want to talk to you. I want to like advise you. I love entrepreneurship. So like, I want to get on board with you. And I was all on board with him, talking to him, sending him texts and stuff. And like, he didn't want to do it, but he tested it out. So he knew, but he saw how hard it was. And I was saying like, yeah, that's the fun part. The challenges and the losing and the being crushed and then having to overcome it. I was like, that's the fun part. And he's like, dude, what? And he's like, I hate that. He's like, it sucks. Like, it's hard. And like,
but you feel like that's genetic, that like some person they know they're going to overcome the lows.
So
like,
it could, so
some people, when they fall down into despair, they like want to stay there.
So there's an element.
That's mental. That's like, yeah.
So there's an element of genetics to that. And you know what? Does he have the potential to be as happy as I do? I don't know about, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing I think that entrepreneurs can understand and why I might push some people toward entrepreneurs if they're thinking about it. It blows the ceiling off how happy you can be. Happiness is a skill, and it's hard to be happy. And being happy is obviously the ultimate goal. It sounds corny, but it's not corny at all. Every single day I wake up and I'm so fucking happy. I love being, like, I really am. And I think there's certain things that are the fundamentals of happiness. And this is what I talk about. If you win the lottery and you have all the money in the world, that is not one of the like fundamental traits of happiness. One of the fundamental, the traits of happiness, and obviously the genetic variances for how it is for each people. But you need to be building towards something to be happy. You need to feel that you are proud of yourself.
I built that almost, yeah.
Yes, and there needs to be some level of building something that you're proud of. Now, for some people, that might be a family. Like, there's different ways of looking at it. But an entrepreneur is always building something, and there's always a better path at the end of the road. Yeah. And that basis is the basis for happiness. I always want something better. I always am building for something better. And then if you do have a little bit of success, building on top of it day after day after day is a great formula for success. And that makes you happy. And that's what's amazing about entrepreneurship. And if someone is unhappy in their life and they've been working for 35 years.
That's what I was about to ask you.
If they've been working their whole life and they're still unhappy, like, maybe that person just didn't have the balls to be an entrepreneur. And if they would have learned the traits and taken it, then maybe they could have had a happier life. In that case, for that person, it can be learned. It can be learned. They just need to
change
need to understand that it is going to be hard. And the natural human instinct is if something's hard, stop doing it. Like if I'm pinched, I move my arm away because I feel that pain and I move my arm away. And that's natural. But if you learn that with something like entrepreneurship and business, if you feel the pinch and you stay there, that you fight through that feeling that created from that can bring you massive amounts of happiness. And that's something that you need to learn. So in that case, entrepreneurship can be learned.
But why is there so many few entrepreneurs? Why is there so many few Seans in the world?
I mean, because it's so hard. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone can do it, and not everyone should do it. And if every single person had to carve out the path for happiness in their life, and they had to maximize it, and there was some magic machine that could maximize it, 95% of people wouldn't be an entrepreneur.
But you feel like if you
want to learn it, you can learn it.
But you feel like at some point in their time before they gave up, they could have changed their mindset and be successful.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
My point here is that...
But some people believe into like stuff that's like worthless. They like business wise, yeah. So,
like, what do you mean about worthless? Like, some people might take... cults and stuff like that. Some people might take this feeling of like needing something and they might put it in a bad place. Or like believing in one political party.
Like they invest all their money into a product that's not going to sell and they like wholeheartedly believe in it.
Well, that might be the people who maybe aren't natural entrepreneurs, but there's some people who might try to take shortcuts.
Yeah, okay.
And the people who try to take shortcuts, they didn't learn well enough what it means to be an entrepreneur. Because if you are going to learn to be an entrepreneur, it's very simple. You need to be ridiculously resilient and positive in all situations. That is one of the traits you need to be an entrepreneur. That can be learned. I always talk about overcoming fear can be learned. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to learn that. And overcoming fear can be learned. If you want big biceps, you have to do a lot of bicep curls. You have to do bicep curls over and over and over, obviously, right?
But some people are genetically, born to have big biceps.
Yeah, but anyone can get big biceps.
I mean, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, steroids.
Anyone can get big, without steroids. Anyone can get big biceps. Anyone. Like, that's true, right? Like, if you do 100 bicep curls every single day your whole life, anyone can get big bicep curls. Anyone can be an entrepreneur. Now,
that's physical.
And now some people have more proclivity towards getting bigger biceps than others.
It's physical and mental too, because you have to like be determined.
But let's just go with just the physical element. Yes, anyone can get big biceps, but obviously some people have the proclivity towards getting bigger biceps than others. And that's genetics for sure. I think that same genetic comparison compares to entrepreneurs or not entrepreneurs. Some people can start a business and just be like the biggest and most successful. They have that genetics.
But it's mental too, because you gotta decide if you're gonna go to the gym every day.
Right, exactly. So that part is a mindset thing, right? And not everyone does have big biceps because it's mental. They have to decide to do those bicep curls. They can do it. Some people can be better than others, right? They have to make that commitment. So I think it's learned, and I think that people who have an itch for it should test it out, like my cousin. And then if you find out, and that is a good path for happiness, because if you find out that you tried it and you hated it and it wasn't for you, then you're never going to be on your deathbed being like, I should have tried it. Then you can adjust your happiness in more ways. If you want to be happy, and you know that entrepreneurship is a great way to be happy, and you try it and it doesn't work, then you need to find a new path to your maximum level of happiness. And that doesn't have to be through business. It can be through a hobby. It can be through a family. It can be through your career. It can be through something else. But at least you will know. And that's entrepreneurial on its own, to just try different things and always know. The people who are unhappy and who just keep doing the same things and are always negative, those people suck. And those people need to change. First of all, don't be unhappy. And those are the people who can... This might be a comparison. Those people who are unhappy and are having a negative outlook on life and are always negative, they can learn to be happy. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, or they can take medicine for it, I guess.
No, not medicine. Fuck medicine. No, medicine don't do it. Medicine doesn't do it. Medicine is what negative people do. Antidepressants are bad because they might help you on the path to being happy. They might be...
You never made the switch that you're going to be happy.
I'm not saying antidepressants are like the lottery. Like, they're not going to change who you are. Like, so they might put a mask and they might help. In the best case scenario, antidepressants will be a path for you to get better. But you're not going to become an unhappy person who's negative and become a happy person who's positive just with antidepressants. They can help mask the problem, but you need to make a mental shift. And this isn't even about entrepreneurship anymore. This is about people who are I don't think anyone in the world, I think there's proclivity towards being negative and unhappy, but I don't think anyone in the world has the right or should be happy or unhappy and negative. There's no excuse, because you can easily change your mind to be happy and positive. And there's no excuse for one person out of the 8 billion people on the planet to be negative. So I believe that. And do you believe that?
What? There's not an excuse for people to be negative?
There's no excuse in the world for one person on this planet to be negative and unhappy.
Oh, man. That's hard to... That's a whole other, like... That's, like, a huge question.
I mean, you shouldn't be unhappy. You should... Like, the goal is to be happy.
What about, like, the kids in Africa who are, like, starving?
Like, I'm not saying there's not people with bad situations.
But you still can be positive.
Yeah. Like, I'm not... Like, the situations are a factor in the happiness. But, like... You have to overcome it. And, like, yes, people are put in bad situations and stuff like that, but, okay, so then they what? They're 12 and they die of AIDS and they're never happy their whole lives. It's a shitty life, and that life is unacceptable. So, like, whatever situation you're put in, okay, but there's no excuse for one person on the planet to be negative or be unhappy. So I think everyone on the planet who's negative and unhappy has no excuse not to shift to being positive and happy.
Okay, I agree with that.
On that level, not everyone in the world should be an entrepreneur. But the people who are itching it and are thinking about it, those people, there's tools that you can easily learn from being unhappy to happy. There are tools to teach you to be an entrepreneur, and you just kind of have to
internet, YouTube.
You just have to commit to them, and you have to learn them, and you have to understand them, and then you have to put them into practice. So my point is, you can learn to be an entrepreneur. The tools are out there. The information's out there. And if you want to do it, you can do it. So if the question is, can you learn to be an entrepreneur? I think yes, you absolutely can learn to be an entrepreneur. I learned to be an entrepreneur. But there is a genetic component. Like, there is certain proclivity. Like, people that shouldn't be in the NBA are in the NBA because they worked hard. People that should be in the NBA, I would think there's a lot of people with the athletic ability of being in the... Only 300 people or so are in the NBA.
So if you could summarize in one sentence, to become an entrepreneur, you have to be blank. Just one word.
Well, willing.
Okay.
Like, that's the first thing.
You got to be willing.
Willing. Yeah. And that can be from a genetic standpoint or not. But you have to want to be an entrepreneur. Now, there's the people who are, like, born that way and stuff, and... They're willing too, because they are born that way. So to be an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to be an entrepreneur. You have to say, I'm doing this. I'm going to start a company, and that takes something on its own. A lot of people. Now, here's the thing. The reason why this conversation is interesting is because there's so many people who say that and think that. They say, I want to be.
I was about to do that. I say that. Yeah.
They say, I want to be an entrepreneur, and they don't, and they can't, and they don't. So. For those people, that's where this lesson is important. My message is that you can learn it is for those people. If you want to do it and you say you want to do it, either do it and then figure out that you don't want to do it anymore, or just keep doing it forever because you'll be happy. And now if you just keep failing and failing and failing and failing and failing, my advice would be just keep going over and over and over and over. Yeah. Like, it really would be. Keep going. But, like, maybe...
a question.
Maybe you're just an idiot. I don't know.
Is will, just in general, a trait? That's a genetic trait?
Ooh, will in general. Now,
like, I'm thinking of, like, 3 people climbing this rope. The person who's going to get up to the top the fastest, is it because, like...
But will can be...
Is it because they're
athletic? I mean, some people might have a more of a...
Or they have a greater will.
Would you agree that will can definitely be learned? Like that's what I'm talking about.
No, because like
this is the same thing.
Grit.
This is the same thing as I don't think that any person on the planet has the right to be unhappy and negative. That's the same thing. Like, because it takes a little bit of will and you can be happy. Like, I think there's no excuse for having no will.
Yeah, but like
there's no excuse. Everybody should have will.
But there's like we grow up listening to these stories of the hero. Why isn't everyone the hero?
I mean, everyone can be their hero in their own way. Everyone can be their hero in their own life. Everyone can be the hero of their small family or their small community. Everyone can be a hero in their own way, and that satisfaction can give them life. If you're a janitor at a building and you clean up a banana peel and someone doesn't slip over it, you can feel like the hero in that case. Everyone can be the hero in their own world. And guess what?
Okay.
Guess what? If you're the janitor and you pick up a banana peel and you feel like a hero, then you have the will to be happy and you're successful.
Okay, so like, all right, there's the X and Y chromosome.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a different DNA strain. So like there's what I mean, I don't know, billions and billions of people in this world.
Yeah, like 8
but
billion.
8 billion.
8 billion, something like that. They don't know.
India I know is like the most populated. But so like, but you only hear about if you like read like the top 100 people in the world.
Yeah.
Like richest people in the world.
Yeah.
Why is there like 100 people?
Why is there only 100 people and the 100 richest people in the world? That's how many there are. 100. There can only be 100 people. Like, yes, people rise. Now, not everyone can be a Jeff Bezos. Like, it's impossible. Like, not everyone can be a
Jeff
me.
Bezos, that's Amazon.
It's Amazon, yeah. Not everyone can be me, and I'm a nobody. Like, I'm successful in my own little way, and I strive to be somebody like a Jeff Bezos. But like,
okay, that goes.
There's levels. There's levels.
Though.
There's levels.
That goes to my point. You feel like those top 100 people, they had a better genetic.
They had a combination of genetics and will and training and doing it the right way, and probably the right combination of situations they were facing.
Yeah, environmental. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, there's obviously levels. But nobody has the right not to have will.
Oh,
everybody needs to have will.
All right, we're gonna get a little political here.
Okay.
Trump is an entrepreneur.
Obviously, amazing entrepreneur.
Okay, yeah, amazing. Okay, so all right, let's go first. His traits.
Oh, I'll tell you. Okay.
Yeah, and what makes him successful?
Oh, obviously, his most amazing trait is his resilience to criticism.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Like a lot of presidents, they age. You see it. Like you see day one and like the last day or whatever, and you can see the gray hairs and the aging that they have gone through because they worry and they think and they put the profundity of the situations on them. Yeah. He doesn't have that ability. He is so resilient and so positive. He's so positive and he knows that he has to deal with criticism. So when things come out and he is just getting shit on by every single person, he's like, okay, all right, this is good. He has one of the most amazing abilities to be positive in every situation that I've ever witnessed in the entire world. Yeah. And it's not a coincidence that he's a billionaire and the president of the United States. His level of resiliency is something that anyone on any political aisle can admire.
Yeah. I mean, tons of people are born from money. He was born from money, but he still had to have those genetic traits of resilience.
He is a special.
To be special, yeah.
He is one of the most special people.
Because he failed a lot in his life.
He had some struggles in business. Everyone does. Every person has struggles in business. That's literally a fact.
Like, he's still firing them.
Dude, that is one of the things that can be learned. One of the things that can be learned is when you are struggling, don't give up. Think about that. It sounds like it's so simple. I don't feel like to be learned because like some people who are from money, they could just be content. Well, they didn't learn. Like, so
they didn't learn to want to be better.
The one thing I wish upon nobody is to be born rich.
Yeah.
I think that is a curse. I think it's a curse to be born dirt poor on the streets. It is a curse to be born into
that's why the world
everything.
loves the hip hop.
If I had to choose a life starting tomorrow, whether to be born on the streets or born into great wealth, I would choose born on the streets. Now that might be my genetics talking, or that might be my entrepreneurial learnings, but it's better to overcome things. And now this is how it can be learned. Like, okay, fear of judgment and fear is wired into us biologically. Back to the
caveman.
Caveman, the small tribe. If you hear a snake and you're not scared, the snake will jump out and kill you. Yeah. But the people who are scared jumped away and they survived and they learned on. They
Oh, I got a crazy thought now. Okay, so like there's 3 cavemen. Yeah. It turned dark for the first time on Earth ever, and you think all of them are gonna be scared, or one person's gonna be brave?
I mean, our biological things come from evolution.
Someone's gonna be like, "Oh, this is cool. This is awesome. There's stars. They're bright." Some people gonna be like, "Oh, everything's dark."
Like evolution. You know about evolution?
Yeah.
Like evolution is how I believe people came to how we are. So evolution is just millions of years of situations, and why evolution is so interesting is because it wasn't about who was the best. It was about who survived. So guess what? Guess who survived? The people who were scared because they hid from snakes.
It's true.
So survival is a human instinct. And fear is a human instinct.
It keeps you alive,
Every single human being that's ever existed came from a process of evolution. And that process of evolution has fear built into it. So this is a fact. Every single human that's ever existed has fear wired into them biologically. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. It's an evolutionarily biological fact. So every single person has fear wired into them. If something falls from the sky at us, we go, oh, and we move away from it, right? That's the fear. That's the survival, and it's a good trait. But so fear is wired into all of us. So overcoming fear is something that has to be learned by literally everybody who's ever overcome fear. And here's how you overcome it. I mentioned if you want to get big biceps, you have to do bicep curls. If you want to overcome fear, you need to practice overcoming fear. So,
I got another one.
So real quick on practicing overcoming fear, if you see a spider and you're scared of a spider, your instincts are going to run away. For 1 second, when you see the spider, like say, oh, I'm going to practice not being scared of something I'm scared of. And boom, there's a bicep curl. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Tom Brady. Okay.
Yeah.
Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's the greatest.
Yeah, he's good.
Quarterback. He's the greatest quarterback in the NFL. Why aren't there more Tom Brady's when obviously there's more athletic quarterbacks?
I mean, so I'd like to give Tom Brady all the credit in the world, and he's obviously
there's people who can throw the ball farther, more accurate.
In team sports, we judge people by how many championships they have, and it's
all in the dome.
But it is a team sport.
Yeah.
There is definitely an element.
He's one with less wide receivers.
There's definitely an element of luck and an element of fortunateness in his teammates and stuff like that.
And he just throws 2-yard passes.
But he obviously has. So I think it's funny how athletes are compared to entrepreneurs because it's not that comparable. Because entrepreneurs
now they're trying to be
But entrepreneurs is. How do you define success for an athlete? How many championships you won?
Yeah.
How do you define success for an entrepreneur? It's very. Did you cure cancer? Did you cure disease? Did you make $1 million? Did your company go public? Or did you make $5 million? Did you make $20 million?
5.1, 5.2.
How do you it's hard to compare a Tom Brady and a Michael Jordan to an entrepreneur because.
That's what I'm trying to say. I feel like it's all
that's why athletes aren't the best to bring into this conversation because they have these weird structures that we give them, championships and wins. It's very you or me. I win or you lose. It's not like that in entrepreneurship.
Well, I'm trying to say it's like the genetic traits for him to be great is the same.
Obviously, leadership. Yeah. So leadership and resilience and practice, those things are the same. But it's hard to compare. But yes, Tom Brady is a great leader, and he's very fierce. Here's a comparable thing between an entrepreneur and an athlete that a great athlete that is needed. It's being fucking fierce. I consider myself fierce. I literally start shaking in anger when I relax. I hate relaxing.
Ooh.
I like to maybe be tougher than I am on that. I will eat dinner and watch a TV show when I'm eating dinner, but I don't know. I don't have weekends personally. I don't like to chill. And the only time I value chilling is if I'm doing it with important friends or family, because that time is valuable with a family. Now that being said, all I did in college and high school was party and hang out with friends and chill. But I valued that time and I never relaxed. I never
I got a personal question.
I was always a party boy, which means I had high energy.
Did you do drugs, psychedelics?
I've experimented. Yeah, I'm into drugs. I'm open minded about them and everything like that.
Have you done mushrooms?
I've done mushrooms once. Yeah.
I got that feeling from you too.
Yeah, I've done it once. I've only done it one time, and honestly, I did it more recently. And I thought that it would I was.
Oh, you did them recently?
I did them more recently.
Whoa. Okay, tell me about that.
So I thought that I always heard that it's shit. People who are like that, people who are like what I'm describing right now, high energy and stuff. They take them and then they get a whole new perspective on life about how it's all about being one with nature and all that. And I did it and I was open minded to that situation. So I hit this situation and Actually tried it twice. And the first time, I like didn't really feel anything. It was like a dud or kind of.
Oh dang!
So I was like, oh whatever. But I wanted this high experience to see how I would feel.
Yeah.
Because hey, if I'm not scared of
it just opens up parts of your
I'm
brain.
not scared of anything.
I
could shift and not be like I am now and be happy. That's fine. So I'm not scared of taking the psychedelics and shifting and then being a different person than I am.
They work better for someone who is scared.
So I'm not scared of that. But here's what happened when I took them, and it worked very well. And I felt one with nature, and I felt great, but I was so at one with myself. I was so happy with the person that I am. I was so proud of who I have become. So I felt at one with who I am, and who I am is this high energy.
Did you ever hear of what people have is ego death? Do you know what that is?
Yes, I know all about. I know all about that, and I talked about this on that podcast with Julian. I know all about the ego and the ego death, and I think that I am very at one with my own ego. And that is what I got from having that experience.
Well, then, yeah, okay.
So, I'm very comfortable in my own skin and being this person. That is what I learned from it. So I understand what ego is, and I understand the benefits and the negative things with ego. If the problem with ego is the ultimate goal in life is to be happy. And if your ego is always wanting more and more, and you're always clawing for more, and you're not happy, then that's the problem with the ego. Then you need to get your ego in check, and you need to understand why you're not happy. I'm happy.
I know we're talking about a lot of things, but entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. It's like your life.
It is. It's 100% a lifestyle.
So it's all these things.
It's 100% a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I'm at one with my ego. And I use my ego as a tool. Sometimes I'm like, God, I look so cocky, or I'm like, oh, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just using my ego as a tool. And I think Donald Trump does that better than anyone in the world.
Yeah,
he uses his ego. You look at him and he's like, I'm the best. But then I think when he's behind doors in a meeting about something important like national security, I think he's like, okay, let's be calm about this.
Yeah.
But his persona as a political figure is to be like, I'm the best. And that definitely works politically.
Oh, yeah.
Because people's egos look towards the person who has the ego.
Yeah.
I don't want to get rid of my ego. I want to pick and choose when to use it. But the reason that anyone would want to get rid of their ego would be to be happy with what they have. And I'm happy with what I have every second of every day. So that's why I have no problem with my ego, because I have fun with it. And if people make fun of me for having a big ego, I laugh and I say, hi, just mess around with it. And when I had that experience with the mushrooms, mushrooms are an ego crushing drug.
Yeah.
I was left with nothing but myself, and I was very happy with what I felt. So I don't know if that's...
So you knew yourself before you even had to take them, basically.
So I took them, and it was confirmation. I didn't learn anything new. I just learned that I'm very happy with the essence of myself, and that made me happy. And but it didn't take the shrooms for me to start calibrating my mind early on. I'm constantly calibrating myself for happiness, and I take this. And someone who's an entrepreneur has much more room to calibrate to be happy if you frame it in the right way. I wake up every day, I'm happy. If I have a great day, I'm happy. If I have a terrible day, I'm happy, because now I have a challenge to overcome, and overcoming challenges is fun, and having fun makes me happy, and I'm constantly building towards something else. And if my business fails, if my podcast fails, if I fail, I will be happy because I did it to my fullest extent, and it's funny, whatever. I fucked up, and I still like myself, and I there's no way I can turn in my life and not be happy. And I trained myself fiercely to be like that. I learned it. I learned how to train my mind, and I work on it every single day to the point where it's second nature now. I train my mind on how to be happy no matter what you're doing. And entrepreneurship is a great tool for that.
But, okay, so you changed yourself, you changed your mindset, but for someone else who's not in your shoes, and they have...
Start calibrating. Start training yourself. Not to be an entrepreneur, but start calibrating yourself for happiness.
Okay, start calibrating yourself for happiness.
What makes you happy?
What makes me happy?
I mean, yeah.
What makes me happy? When the Eagles win, South Carolina Gamecocks win a national championship?
So I have a response to that because I've thought about this so much, and I grew up a huge sports fan. I was obsessed with sports, fantasy football, baseball cards. ESPN,
it used to break or make my day.
ESPN every day. And the reason I stopped loving sports as much as I used to is because why should my happiness be tied to if some fucking 18-year-olds win a game?
I'm getting like that.
Like, it's kind of sad to have your happiness tied to the success of a bunch of people who you can't control. And I've calibrated myself not to be obsessed with the success of my sports teams. And I think that's so many people love their sports teams. It's natural. It's fine. But I think too many people are tie their success to the success of their sports teams, which they can't control. And I think that's a bad calibration. And I mean, obviously, sports are a huge industry. People kill over their sports teams, but it's because not everyone is calibrated for happiness.
Well, most people, they don't have like the great, enormous lifestyle. It's like it's their escape.
Right, it's their escape. And I still love sports. And my one squad's Notre Dame, but like, I like sports now for the storylines and the entertainment and watching great people do great things.
Do you feel like running your business is an escape?
I mean, I don't need an escape. Like, I'm getting married in 4 months.
Oh, that's true.
I'm getting married in 4 months and we're talking about a honeymoon. And I'm just like, damn, I just want to get back to work, man. Like,
really?
I love my life. Like,
what is your
she's the same as me, man. She's the same as me. Like, she is definitely not a born entrepreneur. She would never, I don't think she'd be an entrepreneur at all if it weren't for dating me. But did
you train her to be
more
entrepreneurial?
Yes. I helped calibrate her mind for happiness too. And me and her are so fucking happy every day. We dance in the morning.
Are y'all similar or opposite?
I mean,
is opposites attract?
I mean, we're similar. Like, we're similar in certain ways and everything. But over the past 10 years, we've been shaping our life together. But before me, like, if she wasn't with me, I don't think she would be as happy as she is now. It's because here's what I'm good at. I'm good at calibrating a mind for happiness. And that's a skill that anyone can learn. For me, it's entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a great way to do it for a lot of people. Different people are in different situations.
Okay. So you feel like, do you feel like the happiest person can be able to calibrate someone to be happy? Or you feel like anybody can calibrate someone?
I don't know if maybe the happiest person...
You feel like this homeless guy on the street can calibrate someone to be happy?
Well, no. He's got to calibrate himself.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming this homeless person's unhappy.
Well, that's not genetic.
I'm saying, can the happiest person calibrate others for happiness? I don't know. Maybe they calibrated their mind perfectly for happiness by accident.
Is happiness genetic? Well, it's
no.
Environmental.
Happiness,
that's a lot of things.
Happiness can be calibrated.
Yeah. But you said your mom said you were born happy.
She did say that. She said I was always had a smile on my face and everything like that. Like, I think, yes, a positive demeanor is at some level genetic.
Okay.
But yes, there's genetic levels to everything. And are you an entrepreneur or not, there is some level of geneticsness to it. Obviously, Mark Cuban was born an entrepreneur. Okay, obviously. And some people are obviously not born entrepreneurs. But for that big swath of people who say they want to be entrepreneurs but are struggling with it, they can learn it.
All right, I got this just question. All right, let's just say you're not born an entrepreneur, but you can change your mindset, but you failed at entrepreneurship, but you still have the skills to be an entrepreneur. What would you do in 2020 with those skills if you're not running a business?
I would get a job for an awesome company.
Oh.
I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with having a job.
Yeah.
Like, so many people get to their maximum happiness or close to their maximum happiness by working for a company and being an employee.
Right. Okay.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, you can be, first of all, the number 3, 4, 5 person at Facebook, Amazon, Google. They're technically not entrepreneurs, but they're massively successful business people.
Yeah.
Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with working for a company and being the best you can at your job and trying to raise in the company and get a promotion and work for that company. That's a great life for so many people. So,
because I think that's good because we're like the audience you're talking to right now is like they're probably on the mends of like if they are an entrepreneurial. So you got to make them. I don't know.
I think you should give it a try in some little way, like my cousin did with the CBD, and. Like, I mean, earlier in life is better, and you got to do it.
What was this company called?
It was called, I should probably remember that. It was called, he had a great name.
I wonder if it was like catchy or anything.
Dude, he actually had an awesome name. What was it? Oh my God, the fact that I can't think of it is ridiculous.
It's all good. If
it comes to me, I'll say it, but I can't believe I can't think of it. But anxiety armor. It was called. Dude, he had a great name. He had a great product, and he labeled it. And it
sounds like a deodorant that you would put on your body, but it's CBD you put in your body.
Yeah, it was called Anxiety Armor. It was awesome, but he gave it a little try, and I think that was a great path for him. I just think maybe give it a little try, do a little something, test the waters, because then if you don't like it, and then if you don't like it, just tell yourself right away, I don't like this, and that's fine. And then go on and get a job and work on your career. And there's nothing you have to have a job like to be happy. I think the worst thing that could happen is have no job, because I think if you do nothing all day every day, you're not going to be happy.
Oh hell no, you won't.
Like that's my beef with the lottery. That's my beef with getting handed money. That's my beef with stupid people who don't have their brains calibrated properly. Then they get money, and then they take that money. They take that money, and they're still unhappy because they never recalibrated their brain.
You think being quote unquote stupid is genetic?
I mean, that's a tough word to define.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely like test taking ability, like the ability to solve a math problem is at some level genetic. Like, yes, some people are smarter than others, but who's smarter?
Exactly.
Someone like me, or someone who's the valedictorian of their college and now is working a coding job and they hate their life. They would get a higher test score than me.
Yeah.
But who's happier? Someone like me or someone like that?
Yeah,
they're maybe quote unquote smarter, but I think the definition of smartness is how good you are at calibrating your own brain for happiness.
Hey, there you go.
And that can be learned. So, yeah. Let's wrap it right there.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I love having another voice on the podcast. Hey, you guys are going to be seeing Brandon around. He's going to be helping me with the podcast, help me do videos, help him build everything up. So it's going to be fun. Great having him on here. This is a great conversation. And hey, I appreciate everyone listening to episode 26 of the Sean Lowery Show. I'm out. Peace.